Hello, folks. Another short video for you today. I'm Rick Williams from Dallas, Texas. I work on Ancestry.com, building my family tree. Um, I've This is a second video of the day. I recorded another one on what I do on a daily basis for DNA matches, and I promise to follow up with some more videos, short videos about the other topics I'm thinking about today. I talked about DNA matches before. You can find that video in the same folder as this one. I'm going to focus on the DNA story today. The I'm going to try not to go over the same ground that I did on any of my previous videos, so bear with me. Um, the 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 DNA story is built from the fact that I took a DNA test and I sent it in Ancestry.com, and they ran it through a computer program that compares bits and pieces of it with bits and pieces of DNA from others, and very simply, scientifically, a fact that uh, they know that certain bits of DNA match other people. It's an indication that you're related. It's not any other kind of indication there. It just means person A is related to person B. The more common those pieces are between the two people, then the closer the relationship is. It doesn't give anything about the family itself, just about these two people. So connecting these two people together is a is a big part of this, and that's what the DNA matches video is all about. Today, I want to talk about the DNA story. That this is other information that the program puts together. It uses similar techniques to look at your DNA and look at the parts and pieces and say, this piece right here, this small piece of Rick's DNA uh, is really similar to a lot of other DNA that we're seeing from people who have ancestry in England or Scotland or Norway or Africa or any other place. The sheer volume of DNA that's gathered across the world is all available to the program, and the programs uh, are very good at finding a common ground between the DNA. So it's able to tell a story for us. It's if you look at this panel from DNA, I mean from Ancestry, that's labeled DNA story, it basically gives me an estimate of what the program thinks about who Rick Williams is, about what his story is. Now, a lot of people I talk to goes, yeah, I get the DNA thing. I understand that it's a key factor in the legal arena. I mean, if my DNA is found on the murder weapon, they say there's a only a one chance in a billion that it's not me, and that's true. But at the same time, people say, well, uh, I took a DNA test and it told me I was Irish. And then I sent it to another company, and the other company told me that I didn't have any Irish blood at all. Now, that doesn't mean that the whole science is wrong. That just basically means that the two programs that looked at the same DNA between, for that one person had have interpreted it differently. There's nothing wrong with an interpretation. An interpretation can change. In the scenario I just gave you about, well, it looks like Rick's from England, that may change from 68% sure to 40% sure based on the amount of data that's involved in the analysis. So uh, I've seen it myself. I've seen when I first took my DNA test, it told me that there wasn't hardly any Irish in me, which I found strange. And then I looked at my brother and sister and saw that my brother and sister have totally different mixtures. And it's a long story. I'm not going to go over it today, but don't be discouraged about a differing interpretation of your DNA. Your DNA will tell you who you're related to. There's no doubt about that. Whether or not it's perceived or interpreted to be English or Scotch is a totally different analysis. So let's take a look at mine. This just gives you an overall high level. As you can see here, I've got 4 other regions. So let's go ahead and discover my story and drill down to see what the details show. Uh, it gives you a little historical context of where your ancestors have come from. Again, this is not from looking at family trees. This is looking at segments of DNA. This is scientifically generated analysis here. And you can see that scientifically, my DNA is made up of England, Scotch, Norwegian, Welsh, and Irish. You can drill down on this and get an understanding of why the current analysis comes out this way. Or you can wait for another few months and Ancestry will reanalyze the same data with the context of all new DNA that's coming in. That's not mine. Mine's not new. Mine's what, 5, 6 years old now. But the new stuff that's coming in is going to change the analysis that may make my mixture seem a little bit different. So again, don't get discouraged with an interpretation of your mixture. Currently, I can look at my mother's side of my DNA and see uh, what the mixture is over there. For example, um, uh, the percentages of a particular. I'm looking for it. I don't see it. I'll click on it and come back. But if you click on this part of the chart, then it gives you um, a specific numerical breakdown, and you can see that for my mother's side, there's absolutely no Welsh indications. There's no indications in my DNA from the maternal side. There's no indication of any Welsh DNA segments. Again, it has nothing to do with a family tree or a family story or anything like that. It just says that it doesn't see any patterns in the DNA that would stand out as some pattern that's known to come from Wales in England. Keep in mind, and this is very important, keep in mind that just because you have a relative from Ireland and you know it, let's say you know that with the DNA, it shows that person is definitely born in Ulster, Northern Ireland. That doesn't mean that that person was originally from there. That person could have come from Germany and to Ulster, their parents, and then that grandmother was born there, but really her DNA is from 2 German parents. Now, the scientific statistics will show as German. And even though she was born in Ireland, doesn't mean anything. So keep that in mind. It's very important. I have many relatives from Scotland and Ireland, but the DNA is telling me that they came from England. So when you say you're Irish, that's pretty nebulous. the DNA, and you have to go back many, many, many generations. And again, I'm going to say something very important. The further you go back in the generations, the less the DNA means, because it's been parsed, it's been split in two so many times. My my 6X grandfather and my 6X great grandmother, uh, they each passed one half of their DNA to their daughter, and that DNA is split five more times by the time it gets to me. So the amount of DNA that gets back to 6X is very, very small. So the sweet spot for DNA is maybe like 2 to 5X, which is what you're going to find on Ancestry. 2X to 5X is where you've got to get a good handle on your DNA and how it goes in to make up these values as you see them here. Now, this is helpful information when you're going through your family tree and deciding um, whether something is or is not probable. But that's about as much as you can use it. Um, if you look at my mother compared to me, you're going to see what portion that I basically got from my mother. And if I click on my father's side, you can see that his uh, uh, makeup is totally different. Let me go back to the original page since that didn't work, and I will come down here and click on the paternal side, and you'll get a different set of statistics for the paternal side. Now, there's advanced things you can do here. I'm not going to go through it, but those little pieces, those little relevant pieces of your DNA that I was talking about, you can come in to and actually map them so that you can, if you're really into it, you can come in and see what part of the chromosome that it came from. So this would be helpful looking at the maternal side and the maternal and paternal side to see why you are mixed the way you're mixed. And where I find this most interesting is uh, is helping me, like I said before, that I determined that my uh, mother didn't have any Scottish, so this will help me uh, get to. Wait a minute here, I'm lost. Bear with me. I don't come in here very often. Okay, there are other ways you can use these comparison tools. Again, it's something I don't do, but it's certainly available if you're into that kind of thing. But here are some comparison between my daughter and my brother, which is a totally different uh, set of facts because uh, my you'd think that my brother and I would be exactly the same, but as you can see, they're not. Uh, the We just happen to collect the same uh, bits and pieces sometimes, and sometimes we don't. For example, my brother didn't get any of the Norwegian segments that identifies them, that in me, and my daughter inherited those, and she could have inherited this 2% either from me or from her mother. Now, if I have her mother's DNA, I could go in, and if it was it was zero, then I could assume that my daughter got all of her Irish blood from me. But again, keep in mind that it's sort of nebulous to make statements like that, because there are so many factors involved with this half inheritance of genetics going down going down the going down the road. So what else can I see in terms of my story? Well, along with this map showing where your family came from, you can actually see, um, uh, depending on the generation, you actually see the migration across the United States. Uh, in terms of my family, they came into Maryland, Virginia, Pennsylvania, and they migrated to they immigrated through the South, through Tennessee into Missouri, and you can see all of that in these estimates, uh, which is another sort of analysis that that Ancestry goes through to again comparing segments from me against other families that were basically in the same regions. Um, so here's where a lot of my family ended up, and it matches. It matches exactly. Uh, and some of them again came from Kentucky and Tennessee, uh, down into the uh, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Texas, Missouri area. It's me precisely. Again, this is all about DNA. It's not about family trees. So you can take this sort of analysis to the bank in the context of now versus next week when it might change, right? And another part of my family came through Georgia, South Carolina, and Florida. But I can go to my tree and verify this. And this is pretty interesting. This tells me of all the DNA matches I have, and not everybody shares their location. So I would encourage everybody. It's very important to do a DNA test and share your location so that people like me can come in here. And there's 75,000 of you out there. And if you share your location, I can tell where you're at. Not that I'm going to come visit you, but at least I'll know where um, where you're at, and I can go searching across the world and see where you've ended up, and I can tell stories, and I can search in Hawaii and try to find public information about a relative that lives there and find out the story behind it, which is very, very poignant. Um, so, so I hope I've given you in this short video some information about storytelling and DNA and how that fits in with uh, without really relating to a family tree, but certainly relates to storytelling, which is one of my main goals that I mentioned on the first video. Is I have a I want to have an accurate family tree that contains all my blood related paternal families, and my goal is to tell stories about those people, and this is my goal. It's what I hope to accomplish, and that's the reason I'm on Ancestry, and to share it with everybody who are interested. So that's it for this video. Appreciate it very much. Rick Williams out of Dallas, Texas.